Well, that was fun. It was kind of nice to have that twang in the guitar. I enjoyed that. Yeah. You know, it was funny because I was looking at the lyrics for that song, and I was also looking at various poems that I could possibly share and other songs that kind of got at this idea of love hurts. This idea that love hurts that we're going to be exploring today as I was trying to figure out why exactly does love hurt. And so as I looked at poem after poem and lyric after lyric, I realized that there was a theme that I started to see present in each of those things. And I did find a poem that I'd like to share with you. So I'll share this with you, and just as you're listening to this, think about this and the song that Kelly just sang, and see if you can pick out the underlying theme that's present in here. The poem is entitled Looking for Eternal Love by Michaela Tatula. I start my journey on having faith that someday I'll find my day. I know this day is not too late for love to come my way. Feeling lost in a chamber clear, seeking truth for love to heal all the pains I have to bear. What is love if it's not real? Shading my heart with shades of blue, saving all my tears just to look for a love that's true, taking all the risk, walking through a lonely path. I know it's all I have, and there's nothing I can do but to look for eternal love. Now, did you notice the theme that was present in that and the theme that was in the song that Kelly sang? You see, in both instances, both in the song and in the narrator of this poem, they're all sharing this theme of seeking and yearning for love. In fact, both the poem and the song just ooze with these ideas and these themes that allude to the idea that love hurts, that love is painful, that love is something we need to go looking for, that we need to find it outside of us, that we need to ask these questions: when am I going to be loved? When will I find my eternal love? And yet, many of you have heard from this very platform, from me in fact, the spiritual truth that you're whole and perfect exactly now, exactly as you are. That you have within you all of the qualities of God that you would need to have in any moment right where you're at. And that includes love. So why is it that we get this message, this idea that well, love is something that I have to go outside of myself to get? Because on the surface, it seems that love is something that needs to be given to us in order to flourish. You know, if we look around at problems that might occur in society, it seems like all the time when something happens, I'm hearing about how, well, I just wasn't loved. I didn't know I was loved. And so that's what caused me to act out in the way that I did, or to feel that I needed to get something to gain my value as a person. So we get this idea that we need to look outside of ourselves to get to that place with love where we deserve to be. Well, I have news for you. I have news for each and every one of you. You are a spiritual being. Every one of you. Right here, right now where you are a spiritual being. And each one of you is filled with more than enough of anything that you could need. You are perfect, whole and perfect, just as you are. There's nothing that can be added to you to make you more perfect than you already are. There's nothing that you need to go out into this world to find that will make you more perfect than you already are, right here and right now. And so, as we move into this understanding that we already have this love within us, this love that's already there, that we don't need to gain it, we get this sort of realization, or at least I did. And the realization that I got was that love was not something to be added to me. Love was something to be released. In fact, love is something for us to share and to release with the world around us. Now, I know that can be sort of an interesting concept and a concept to struggle with. I struggled with it myself because, like I said, we get so much of this message that love is something we have to go out and gain. But the truth of the matter is that when we're given an opportunity to love, when we're given the opportunity to share our love, that's when we really, truly flourish. That's when we really, truly grow and really, truly become all that we can become to be. You see, the true insight for each one of us is that it's that we haven't really lived, we haven't really come alive until we can express the love that we have. You know, we don't need to receive this love from other people. And the fact is, if we tried to, we don't have the room for it because we're already filled with that divine love, that love of God. So we could try to get it from outside of us, but there's nowhere really to put it because we are love. At the very core of what we are love. So we don't really need to go out and seek it from other people, but we're still going to receive love from the world around us. In fact, I know there's probably a few of you that have stood up here, but very few have had the opportunity to just stand here and to feel the love that I can feel radiating out from each one of you. Now, I know inside me that I already have all of that love, that I already radiate that love. But what happens when I allow you to give that love to me is it serves as sort of a catalyst. You see, it ignites my own understanding of the love within me. So it's not necessarily that I need to gain it from you so much as I need it to remind me that I'm love. I too am love. And I can share my love with you. And so then we get into this sort of giving and receiving of our love. And it increases the love that we all have, that we all share with the world exponentially. And so as we love others, we begin to increase our own understanding of the love within us. And this sort of love that I'm talking about today, this is a divine love that I'm speaking of. This is the love of God. It's the love that only comes from God. And so when we give from that place of love, when we pour our love into the world, then that love comes from that place of God within our hearts, and it reaches out and it touches the hearts of others, and that love continues to grow exponentially. You know, it's the sort of love that our master teacher taught us about when he said, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you should also love one another. And so it's our perspective that needs to shift, so that we begin to love solely for the sake of loving, sharing our love with others. And as we share that love, there's this interesting transformation that takes place. You see, as we begin to share our love, we realize that instead of needing to look outside of us to get the love that we think we need, we come to the realization that the truth is that it's already here. It's already here. You already have it. We don't need to seek it from outside of us. Because the problem is when we go to look outside of us for love, well, those things are temporary, and we're putting our faith in something that we don't have a lot of control over. And so that can lead us to that sort of love that hurts. Now, I know Valentine's Day was just yesterday, but as I was exploring, various stories that kind of got at this idea, I found one that I really, really liked. So I hope you don't mind if we go back to Christmas. Because as I found the story, I thought, well, maybe you could wait till Christmas and just put it away. And so, but no, it's too good. So we're going to go ahead, and I even wore red and green. So. But if you think of the story of A Christmas Carol and the character of Ebenezer Scrooge. Now, Ebenezer Scrooge is a man who wants to find love in the outside world. What does he love above all else? Money. And he will do anything he can to feed that love of money. He will forsake his friends, his family, his obligations as a member of society, all in an attempt to get more money. And then he has his transformative experience. He's visited by the three spirits. And as those three spirits visit Mr. Scrooge, he sees what it used to be like when he was a child and how he's changed. And then he sees where he's going if he doesn't change his perspective, and he transforms. And when he wakes up from this experience, he goes out and he's giving and sharing his love into the world. He runs out and he makes donations to charity. He sends the Cratchits their Christmas goose. He's loving just solely for the sake of loving. He's loving with no thought of what other people think of him. And something very interesting happens. See, as he gives of his love, he makes a difference. And he begins to feel this joy. And you know, this community is one that knows that power of sharing your love, of sharing your joy with the world. And this year, we're giving each of us an opportunity to share our love in a way we've never done it before. We'll be partnering with two organizations, with Heart to Heart International and with Community Link. And we'll be tithing to them throughout the year. We'll be giving them financial donations. But we're also going to have opportunities to go out and volunteer with them, to share of our love with them. And there's something very interesting that happens when you share of that love, because you get that joy in return. And that's what Scrooge finds out. You see, when he goes out to give, if you think of the end of A Christmas Carol, Scrooge goes out and he makes that donation to the men who were collecting for charity. And the men who were collecting for charity, they don't love Scrooge back. In fact, as he's running off, overjoyed and skipping down the road, they're commenting to each other that they think he might be just a little touched. This isn't the Ebenezer that we knew. And then he shows up for his dinner with his nephew Fred and all of his friends have kind of the same reaction. But you know what? Scrooge doesn't care. You see, it's not about getting that love from outside of him that makes him feel that joy. It's about him sharing his love from within him that makes him feel joy. And so as we go out into the world trying to share this love, it's not about what we can get from out there. We don't need other people to love us in order for us to feel love, because that love is already something that's within you. And so if you're in a place right now where you're hurting, where love hurts for you, I would encourage you to find a way to give of yourself, to give of the love that you are. You know, our volunteer program here used to be called Love in Action, because it got at that idea that we were giving of our love, not because it was an expectation that we would get something back, but instead because of this expectation that we just shared our love to prosper those around us. And so if you're in that place where you feel like it's time for me to start giving of my love, and maybe that will make a difference in my life, I'd encourage you to talk to Rachel Asbury. Find the place in this community where you can serve, where you can give of the love that you already are. Because the question that I want each of us to ask is not, how is it that we can get more love? But what can we do to release the love that we already are? See, we no longer need to try and find, how can I get more love in the world? But instead, how is it I can release the love that I already are, or I already am? And that's an interesting concept to begin working with, especially if it's the sort of thing where we feel like we've always needed to get that love from outside of us, that we've always needed to send our love out with the expectation of getting love in return. But there's a problem with that. See, there's a problem with that sort of conditional love, that understanding that, well, I'll love you as long as you love me back. And one of the problems with that is, and I can tell you, there is absolutely nothing that hurts worse than sending your love out to someone and not having that love come back. You see, this sort of love is conditional. It's based on that condition that I'll love you as long as you love me. And when we're loving from that place, we're setting ourselves up for that sort of love that can hurt, that sort of love that can't be reciprocated, that sort of love that's always sort of dependent on the other person. Instead, what we need to be doing is moving ourselves into this understanding of love, the way love should work, the way love really truly works. That love of the Christ, Christ's love. This sort of unconditional love that we understand isn't a commodity that's there to be traded or hoarded or held on to. You see, it's not the sort of love we express with any sort of expectation of a reciprocation. It's something we give with the joy simply of sharing it, and knowing that as we share that love, we increase our own awareness of the love that we already are. You know, this idea of loving and as you love, just letting it bring you into a place of joy is something that's become really, really clear for me here over about the past week or so. You see, Harper has this favorite toy of hers. It's called Kiki. And Harper has many different cries at 4 months old. And even before that, Sarah and I could figure out fairly quickly what the cry meant. You know, is she hungry? Is she just tired? Maybe she's just a little tired, needs to go to sleep. Maybe she needs new pants. That's always a possibility. And then Sarah and I begin playing rock, paper, scissors to see who the lucky one is. But then there's this one cry that it's not really any of those things. You know, we know she's hungry, we know she's been fed, we know the pants are clean. She's just sad. And that's okay. It's okay for us to be sad from time to time. But what I noticed is we'll take this favorite toy of hers and we'll hand it to her. This is Kiki, by the way. By the way, just as an aside, Sarah and I have begun a really fun game in our house where we say, is it a dog toy, a baby toy? Is it? We don't know. But we give Harper Kiki. The crying stops. She gets this big gummy grin and grabs it. And I realized something as I looked at that smile. What I realized was that Harper was expressing her love. And as she expressed love, the sadness started to go down. And it went away. Now, I don't think it's any big revelation for any of us that this is not capable of loving Harper. There's no love within this molded rubber toy. And there's no love for it to share with the world. But Harper has love within her. Harper has love to share with the world. And so when she sees this, she begins to share that love. See, it's not about what something outside of us can give to us. It's about connecting to that presence of love within us and letting it shine out from us to bless the world. And you know, this is something that all of us can do. We can all grab that toy, that thing, that stuffed animal that we love. We can all grab it and just give it a big hug and express our love and know that as we do, that love is flowing through us. And it works. But there's a better way. There's a better way for us to connect with the love that we are and share. There's a better way for us to increase our own awareness of our own power of love within us. See, we can do it like the $6 million man. We can be faster, better. And the way to do that, the way for us to share that love with others, is to follow the instruction that we get at the end or in the Gospel of John. To follow that instructions to love one another. You know, personally, I find it interesting that in all of Jesus' teachings and all of the commandments that Jesus could have given, this is the one that we hear from Jesus. We hear love one another. Of all of the pronouncements that could have been given, of all of the pronouncements that his followers were hoping to hear, that they were yearning to hear from him, these commandments of how to claim your power, this is how Jesus tells us to claim our power. He tells us to love one another. But not just to love one another, we're to love one another as Jesus loves us. To love one another from this place of unconditional love. From this place of loving just to love without any sort of expectation that you are going to get something back. We just love. So I kind of have to ask, is that the sort of love that's possible? I mean, is it really possible for us to unconditionally love? You see, what I would say is that it's not only something that's possible, it's something that each of us must do. Because until we're able to really and truly share that love, we'll always feel as though we're falling short. You see, love is this divine activity. It's a cosmic force that is just as much a part of our lives as the air that we breathe. And just as that air that you breathe fills your blood with the oxygen that you need to live, that love that we feel connects us with that divine energy. You know, it's been said that God is love. And so as we connect to that divine energy of love, we connect to the divine energy of God. And in the process, we become a greater part of that divine energy of God. Out of all of the qualities, all of the divine qualities that make up humanity, that make up each and every one of us, love is undoubtedly the most powerful quality that each of us has to transform the world that we're living in. Because you see, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters in the world around you if you are loving. If you are coming from that place of love, there's not a thing in the world that matters. Now, that power of love, that's something that certainly begins with God, and I understand that I'm telling you to share that love, but there's an important step that we can't forget. There's an important piece of this process. You see, it's really hard for you to go out and share your love with the world if you don't feel like you're in a place where you're accepting the love of God that's within you. And so that's the first step that we have to all make. We have to begin to grow in our own understanding of the love of God that's within each one of us. We have to begin to become aware of that power. Now, I understand that when I'm standing here telling you to love yourself, that you begin to understand the love that's within you, that can kind of come off maybe egocentric. And that's not what I'm getting at. I'm not getting at this idea that we should all be dancing down the street going, I am so great. I mean, you're all great, but this sort of love, the sort of love that I'm talking about, couldn't actually be more humble, this sort of self-love. Because this is the sort of self-love that is connected to your Christ nature. And because it's connected to your Christ nature, it's the sort of love that's going to allow you to share your love with the world. And so as you begin to love yourself, you begin to learn to share that love with the world in a greater and greater way. But it all begins with you. Now, you know, sacred wisdom can come from many places. And we can find sacred wisdom in all sorts of things. And it's interesting because personally I believe that chocolate is one of the very sacred things in the world. And I see there's several that agree with me, yeah. And so this week what I'd like to do is actually quote from the book of Dove. If you don't know, Dove, when they make their chocolates, they put little messages on the inside of the foil for you. And I was looking at this on Friday night, and it said, be your own Valentine. And I love that. Be your own Valentine. Love yourself first. Understand that love that comes from within you, that divine love of God that's within you is already there. And the more you begin to connect to that love, then the more love that you'll have to share with the world. Because you see, the trap that we fall into so often is this belief that love is something that comes from outside of us, that we need to go out there to gain it. And once that trap opens up, the danger that we risk falling into is this feeling that we're empty of love, that we don't have the love in us that we need, and so we have to begin looking around outside of us to find it. Well, the truth of the matter is it's already there. It's already within you. There's nothing outside of you that can give you more love than you already have. And we're always going to sort of fall short of that divine love, that love of God, when we begin to look outside of us. So it's only when we begin to accept ourselves as the radiant love of God that we can truly, fully begin to experience what love is. And the first step is for us to realize that we have love to release to begin with. Now, personally, I believe that each one of us is always going to be growing in our understanding of how the divine love of God works through us. That each one of us always has that work to do to remember that we are always connected to the power and presence of God. There's not a one of us here, myself included, that has fully moved into our Christ awareness yet, at least not that I know of. If you have, just let me know when we go through the receiving line. And so because we're all trying to move into that awareness, because none of us have perfected it yet, I'd like to invite each one of us to utilize an affirmation in this coming week. I'd like each one of us to begin working with this affirmation that I have faith in the supreme power of love. I have faith in the supreme power of love. I have faith in the supreme power of love. Say that with me. I have faith in the supreme power of love. Okay, you know, Charles Fillmore reminded us to say these affirmations with zeal and enthusiasm. So it's not, I have faith in the supreme power of, but with zeal and enthusiasm. Again, one more time. I have faith in the supreme power of love. Yeah, you can even get the hands into it if you want. That's okay. Okay. Because the more we can begin to affirm that that love is something that is already within us, that that love is already present within us, the less we need to look outside of ourselves to get it. And the more we can begin sharing it with the world. And the more we share it with the world, the more that love grows exponentially in the world around us. You see, each of us is born not just with the entirety of divine love within you, but with an innate desire to share it with the world. But when we reach this place in our life where we're unable to see that love within us, it becomes very hard to actually share it with the world. We have to take that step first of realizing that it's already here right now within you. And there's a danger in that. You see, as a society, what we know is we can look at children and teens and see what happens if there's a lack of knowing that this love is a part of them. We see it in adults when they move into their adulthood, and they're always seeking for that approval, that sort of permission and acceptance from people and things outside of them. And ultimately, when we're looking outside of us for that love, and we're focused all on that love outside of us, what happens is we stop growing. Because as human beings, the truth is that our soul's growth is directly linked to our ability to know and accept the love of God that's radiating through you right here, right now. And so when we stop accepting that love, we stop growing. And we start hurting. So if you feel that you're having trouble expressing love, know that love isn't something for you to master. It's not something for you to go out and gain. It's not something for you to seek and you have to go to the far corners of the universe. It's not even something for you to just give up on and say, this is never going to happen for me. Love is something for you to release. It's something for you to share. It's something for you to give. And so as we give our love into the world, we connect with that greater power and presence within us. As we give our love to the world, we express that God love into our world. When we live our lives from the place of love, from the place of divine love within us, we are the Christ. God bless you.